You're listening to Inside Real Estate, your source for all things mortgage and real estate related. The show that brings you all the hottest topics and insights directly from those who know it most. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
Good morning, everyone. This is Sal Cusimano. You are here live on Inside Real Estate. Today is just me and Brad Weisgerber. And special guest Mark Shaftner. He'll be on here shortly, but unfortunately, Paul had an injury to the hand and has to go to the hospital for stitches or something like that. So,
did you say fortunately or unfortunately?
Unfortunately. I wouldn't wish a hand injury on poor Paul.
Man,
yeah. So, well, Mark is here quick. I like that.
That was quick.
How are you? I'm here. Wait, we're missing someone though.
Yeah. Paul had a hand injury.
A hand injury.
Yeah. Fallen and cutting his hand very deeply.
I think he said one of his fingers is missing or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's taking it with him to the hospital. He's got it on ice.
Wow.
So with that being said,
it does not sound good. I don't think Inside Real Estate is Inside Real Estate without Paul here.
No, it's really unfortunate that I have to be the host today. But I usually just kind of sit here and check emails and chime in and whatnot. But today I am the host. So with that being said, we'll see how I do. I don't know. That first time,
You're doing a bang up job so far.
Oh, well, thank you. So Mark, you look good again. Per usual. I'm just trying to say stuff Paul would say, but
you guys are always so flattering towards me, and it really it helps my ego, and I do appreciate it. So thanks so much.
Do you think you make an extra sale when we tell you look good?
I think that's one of the main reasons for my success. Being on Inside Real Estate and you guys showering me with compliments. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a fundamental, right? So anyways, Mark, appreciate you coming on the show.
Happy to be back.
Anyone who knows Mark knows he's a pretty honest dude, tells it as it is, doesn't put people in bad positions. And I think that's what kind of that's the fabric of a good agent, right? Being able to tell someone hey man, I don't think we're going to be able to do this one, or whatever it is, so that people aren't, getting their hopes up and wasting their time. And because emotion, even if everything goes as planned, emotion is kind of one of the things that I feel like people walk away with, right? You could close a deal in 10 days. And if it felt rushed and hurried and the end result was achieved, but the whole entire time was a nightmare, right? So I think that by you being who you are and doing the right things, I think people really get a good taste in their mouth when they walk away from the table and refer you and whatnot. So you have a pretty good network and grasp and look at the Woodward corridor market and some reaches beyond, right? But what are you seeing lately, especially after school has started online, that you're seeing as far as maybe wants from clients, right?
Yeah. Well, again, thanks. I do pride myself on being really honest and telling people like it is when it comes to, especially when it comes to when it comes to their most important investment. When you're in somebody's living room and you're talking about selling their home, it's important to know what you're talking about, what the high points are of their home, what the low points are of their home, and being honest with them and telling them what those things are. And it's not always an easy conversation to have. I think sometimes right now too, we hear things nationally, we hear things locally about the market being crazy, that homes are selling for over asking and, multiple offer situations. And that is true, and that is all happening, but it is still really important to be very realistic, especially on the most important thing, which is the price of your home. You don't want to go in there and tell somebody that their home will sell for $350,000 when really it's a $315,000.
That news is kind of toxic, right? oh, the market's so hot, you can get the all-time high for your home, blah, blah, blah. But, you go out there and maybe old boy, put his, hung his hat on the fact that, he's got this like antiquated, like koi fish garden in the back. That's, all nasty. It's like, dude, you gotta get rid of that. That's going to be
there are certain things that add value and there are certain things that don't. And for most of the people, a koi pond isn't going to be one of those things that's going to jack the price of your home. And yeah, it can be a blessing and a curse. The news of the market being really hot. One of the kisses of death for a listing is to overprice, is to come out, 10, 15% above what the market will bear for your home. Because the longer your home sits on the market, the less it is worth. Mm-hmm. So especially in this market, when people are used to home selling in 6 or 7 days or less. And if you price your home right in this market, at least in the areas where I do primarily my business, the home should sell relatively quickly. So to get back to your question, yeah, school started. Mm-hmm. Sort of.
Interesting.
No,
Brad, you have kids. How is it?
My kids haven't gone back to school yet. They don't go back to school till after the holiday, so next Tuesday. And by back to school, I mean to my dining room on laptops and tablets.
And how old are your kids, Brad?
8 and 5 and
so
3.
Got a kindergartner and
8, 5, and 2.
8, 5, and 2. So you got a kindergartner and a second grader.
No, first grader and fourth grader.
Man,
talk to us about that, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
I
mean, my wife's taking them today. They have to go pick up like their school issued technology to do their coursework and everything with, and they find out today who their teacher is going to be online, which is weird. They normally find that out weeks ago, and they're just finding out today. School starts Tuesday, and it's been very kind of cobbled together and everything just thrown together because nobody really knew what the plan was or where we were going to be at until the last minute. So everything feels very last minute, and my wife's very stressed about it.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if things continued like this and they created like a super hub of teachers, like centrally located somewhere? Like let's say in like Chicago, they got this giant building with like hundreds of teachers that are teaching kids all across the country.
Interesting.
Because I don't even know how they're really going to do it here, because they're giving, like my school district, they're giving us 2 options where you can either send your kid back as a hybrid model where they go to school depending on their grade. Like my daughter would go 2 days a week and then have online for 3 days. But even the in-school time, it's all socially distanced. And
what the hell's the point?
Yeah, well, even when they're in school, a portion of the day is still online. So like,
right.
The only point you'd be going to school for is basically daycare, and that's
so. Let's keep kids home so they don't spread coronavirus, but we can send them a couple days a week.
Right? No, it doesn't make any sense. So
should mitigate the.
So Brad, let me ask you though, because I think that this is an interesting point for the listeners out there. How is it in your home? How are you guys managing it? Did you set up something in your house? Obviously, you did.
Yeah, we kind of converted
your home into a classroom.
We kind of converted our dining room into a school. So the dining room table is kind of gone. We got some desks in there. We have their own little cubbies like they were in a classroom, and it's kind of weird. It's really weird. But my wife is a teacher, or is a certified teacher. That's what her degree's in. So I'm not as worried about it, but. Yeah, we kind of converted our dining room into a classroom for our kids, and it's weird.
Look at how this pandemic has changed the household. Like just the structure of the actual house, right? Like I never had a home office, right? I mean, my office, I could throw a rock at it from my porch, and now I have one, right? And it's actually pretty cool, and I'm utilizing this space. But if I had 3 kids and had to, I'd have to actually make a classroom, that's crazy. Think about how many people, especially in like apartments and whatnot, like, you got parents working at home, you've got kids out, with computers on the kitchen table, like trying to study. I mean, how are things going to get done? Is the question I'd ask myself. Right?
it's an interesting fact and an interesting reality that we're in now, that we used to leave and go to work. The kids used to leave and go to school. We used to leave and go to the gym. Now we do all of those things in our homes. And I think that's part of the reason, that's part of the thing that's been fueling the real estate market here, over the past 4 or 5 months since this pandemic, hit, is that, the way we live in our homes is completely different than it was, in February. And that's why so many people are on the move. You've got to have a space to work at home. If both people are working, you need enough space for both people to work. And if you have kids, if you've got 2 or 3 kids, then you need a space for all of them to work. Let me give you an example. A good friend and coworker of mine, Meg Stanger, who you guys should have her on the show, by the way. She's just absolutely dynamite. Meg and her husband are both working from home, and they have 5 kids. 5 kids, from elementary school all the way up to high school. And they're all at school, at home, and at work, at home. And the way they live in their house is converted to accommodate that. So it's part of the reason why the real estate market has been so busy. People want a home office. They need a dining room space that they can makeshift into a classroom. We're seeing things like that come back into the fray, if you will. They're really much more important. An area for a home gym, if you can do that in your basement, your lower level, it's become more and more important these days to home shoppers out there.
Yeah. Well, and the ability to work at home also allows for, and mind you, the one thing that sucks about all this is how long is it going to last, right? How long before you're required to go back to the office potentially? But, I think a lot of people too, like, not only do they want a place where they can work or have their kids go to school, but outside of that, also a place to relax, a bigger yard, right? Maybe they go for that lake house instead of, a new construction in Royal Oak or whatever it is, right? So I think there's a lot of
space to entertain is huge. Right. Now, because we're
bars
out for big dinner parties, we're going to have smaller dinner parties in our homes. So if you can have kind of a flow from inside to outside, those are the things. And I think it's important for somebody that's a seller to think about those things. You might not have been thinking about moving, but shoot, does my home check all of these boxes? Well, I might be in a high point from an equity standpoint if I wanted to cash in. And I think it's okay to think that way. And, maybe we go find something else and we sell while the market's, sell high, buy low, right? It might be your opportunity to sell your home, with a lot of equity in it. And the other thing that's fueling this big boom is the low interest rates. I heard an interesting statistic a couple weeks ago that because interest rates are so low, affordability today is the same as it was in 2016.
Yeah. I mean, you have to think about it, right? Okay, you might pay 10, 15, 20,000 more for a house, right? But how much more will you save in interest or owe on your payoff in the, because you probably won't refi. If you get in right now, you get in a 2.875 rate as opposed to a 4.25, right? In 10 years, you owe X amount less, and it's probably all things equal, typically the same, right?
Right.
Mind you, we don't know what your house is going to be worth then, but it's a good time to buy. I mean, your money goes far. The payment for a $400,000 house is the same as $320,000 house or whatever it is. Yeah. So it's a lot more bang for your buck. It's easier to qualify on a DTI perspective, not necessarily.
I was going to say, for the most part,
Floyd is getting smashed, man.
Smashed.
That's what's getting smashed. I'm sorry.
Self-employed borrowers.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I'm one of them. It was, and I just
you bought a house. Congrats.
I did. Thank you. And I did get an incredible interest rate, 2.75% interest rate. And being self-employed, it was very difficult for me to get a loan. But we got through it. We did, we checked all the boxes that we needed to check. It took a little bit longer than we expected.
Probably had to get a profit and loss statement.
Oh my gosh, I had to do profit and loss for, I don't even know.
That's the big killer right now, right?
Yeah. Luckily, I have a great accountant, and I know I'm going to get slapped with a huge bill here, but I just said to him, hey, I need all these things. And, 4 or 5 days later, I got it all. So yeah, self-employed is really difficult. The hoops that we're having to jump through, and it's taking a little bit longer.
Fair, it's like you could be furloughed and be back to work full time right now, no issues, right? Gone back to work this week. All right, show me, a 40-hour pay stub. Okay, you're good to go, right? And their job is probably more fragile than someone who's self-employed right now. But say you own a restaurant or whatever, or for example, real estate. I mean, we were shut down for like a month. Nothing happened, a month and a half. So that gets taken out of that equation, and each month things become stronger, right? But at the same time, it's not really fair, but it kind of is what it is. And luckily those statements don't have to be audited.
Yeah. Well, I had a few moments where I was just like, just give me a loan. What the heck? I can afford this. Just give me a damn loan. But that's not the way it works. And I think it's important and I had to tell myself, was to remove emotion from this, that the underwriters are just, doing their due diligence, and it is what it is right now. It's going to be a little bit more difficult.
They're doing their job. And, a lot of underwriters get penalized monetarily if they make mistakes, because
almost all of them.
Very costly for a lender to get a loan bought back or not bought, right? So, obviously
underwriting is a very strange occupation. I was an underwriter for a while, but it's weird because being on the sales side, like you said, there's a lot of emotion involved, right? The clients, the story, the reasons, the motivations, all that stuff, and emotions get wrapped up in it, right? On that side, underwriting is completely different. There's like removed from everything on purpose, so there is no emotion. It's very much just data, black and white. There's a lot of gray area, but it's not emotion driven. It's just, what is this? What is that? What is this? What is that? Can I do this? Can I do that? No emotions at all. And it's kind of heartless and just brutal at times. But to Sal's point, they are compensated a lot of times based on their mistake levels. So if they don't make any mistakes, they get compensated more than if they make any mistakes, because it's like you said, it's very costly to have a loan buyback or unsaleable loan because of underwriter mistake.
It's funny you used the word, Brad, you used the word heartless. Like, that's what we think about underwriters. They're all in some big silo somewhere, and they're all just a bunch of heartless people, and they don't care. And we're over here on the sales side. It's like, just give these lovely people
right
alone. But yeah, they're real humans on the end.
They are.
What's interesting is, I don't think the listeners probably know that, the realtors have absolutely no access. We cannot speak to the underwriters whatsoever. I think that's an interesting. Can we talk about your guys' relationship with underwriters a little bit?
Yeah. Well, as a loan officer or processor, right? I think that it's important to humanize these people, because they really aren't these, heartless bastards denying loans behind a table, right? Like, I'd equate an underwriter to a dentist. And every time a loan comes in, they don't know what's going to happen when they open the mouth. It might be squeaky clean, right? Hey, perfect. We're going to clean your teeth, do a little flossing. Here's a, toothbrush and a free thing of floss. Get the hell out of here, right? Good to go. Yeah. Or they might open it up and that whole mouth is riddled with cavities. Either way, they're going to tell you what's wrong and what they got to do to fix it.
Right.
So that's like, but it's not like the dentist is like sitting there like, just trying to, the underwriter isn't this robot, this heartless person. They just got to do what they got to do, right, to make sure that the teeth get cleaned, if that makes sense, or that they're healthy. So I think building a relationship with them, because we have an open line with most of them, and understanding and talking them through. A lot of people these days are very quick to just email back and forth. And I think that picking up the phone and talking something out changes the whole entire perspective. I see it all the time. Loan officers, what the hell? they shot holes through this approval. It's terrible, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, pick up the phone and call, right? Take 5 minutes to pick up the phone and call this sweet woman who's someone's mom, right? Mm-hmm. And talk to her for 5 minutes and get this thing turned around. And, oh, wow, that worked great.
You know why, Sal? People. You know, it's because when it's emails shooting back and forth, it's just black and white, right? There's no emotions. When you pick up the phone and talk to the sweet lady who's someone's mom, now there's emotions involved, and it's easier to build a connection on both sides, right? And the underwriter is more likely to look at things your way. You're more likely to look at things their way, and communication happens. It's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, underwriters are not heartless. Like, they're by design. They're supposed to be removed and emotionless so they can make good decisions. But it's not always the case, man. They're humans.
Well, and I think, Mark, as an agent, you could probably say the same thing about some LOs, right? They shoot a quick email. You guys fire emails back and forth. Finally, you pick up the phone and call them, like, dude, what's going on, right?
Well, I don't think that, it's really interesting because I don't think that all of our clients know how much communication and back and forth happens behind the scenes between the realtor and the loan officer, the realtor and the title company, the processors at the title company, the processors at the mortgage company. There is so much back and forth, so much communication that needs to happen behind the scenes that the clients don't hear about and don't see really whatsoever. And you're right, Sal, picking up the phone is one of the most important things. I always start all of my transactions out with an introduction email to the loan officer, both title companies, the other realtor. Most realtors have a transaction coordinator helping, getting the deal from signed all the way to close. So there's 7 or 8 people that are involved in every single real estate transaction, not to mention several of their ancillary people that are either behind the scenes or there for a short period of time, like your inspector, your sewer scope, if you've got somebody appraiser, exactly. There are
insurance agent, title company, underwriter 2, 4506 T team. There's like 15 people on the loan side.
The list goes on. Yeah, the list goes on. And it can be difficult, I think, for everyone to keep the communication, keep the communication open, keep it positive, keep it friendly, because there are hiccups in almost every single deal, and it can be frustrating.
That's why it's like a dual symphony, where the real estate agent and the loan officer are both the orchestrators, right? And they have to work in tune to get it done.
Yeah, another good analogy, Sal. You're really nailing it today.
Yes.
Thank you.
What has he got next, folks? It's true. But just like you said, I think it's really important to pick up the phone, to talk to people, to make sure that the lines of communication are open. A good friend of mine actually talked about, he actually made a post on Facebook about it, about how there was a real estate agent on the other side who came at him with, anger, if you will, because he was frustrated about something in the deal. And this gentleman prides himself on being pretty even keel. And he let his emotions get the best of him, and he stooped to his level and, started yelling. There was 2 real estate agents yelling at each other over the phone. And hey, that's human. That type of thing can happen. It's unfortunate when it does. But I think it's really important to make sure that you keep your emotions in check, and just, remain professional in everything that we do. Realtors to realtor to LO, to the underwriters.
They all are trying to get the same thing done. No one wants to kill the deal, right? I mean, and if they do, they're evil.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's a good point. So switching gears here, and kind of going back to where we were before, with that being said, and are you seeing like a split? Like for us, it's always like, how many purchases, how many refis are you doing, right? Is it a 50-50 split? That means we're working with a lot of buyers, or a lot of people are refining, which potentially means, on your end, you might be working with more sellers or whatever, right? So what are you seeing, like listing to buyer ratio, if that makes sense? And where are those sellers going? If they're in Royal Oak right now, are they moving out? Are they going to another state?
Yeah, good question. So interestingly enough, closed and under contract, I have 36 deals, 36 sides so far this year. And I am an even 50-50, 13 listings, 13 buyers, which is not typical, I would say, for most real estate agents. Some real estate agents focus mostly on listings, some focus on just buyers. Some people are buyers agents specifically. If you see a lot of these big teams out there, they have listing agents, they have buyers agents. Because I'm a solo agent, I have, some contract help from the transaction coordination side of things. But I like to split my time 50-50 between buyers and sellers. The reason why I like that is because it gives me a good feel for what people that are selling are saying. It gives me a good feel for what people that are buying are saying. And from a buyer standpoint, depending on the price point that you're in, it's still extremely competitive out there right now.
What price points are you finding that are softer?
Good question. So, your first time home buyers, your 2 to like 500 and your first move up buyer, extremely competitive. Especially the 2 to like $350,000, $400,000 price range. At least in the areas where I do the majority of my business, which is up and down the Woodward corridor, Ferndale, Royal Oak, Birmingham, Clawson, Huntington Woods, Bloomfield Hills. I dabble up into Troy and Rochester as well because I used to live there, so I know that market pretty well. The first-time home buyer is extremely competitive. We're seeing 5, 6, 7, 10 multiple offers on homes, and it's very difficult. And
people gotta have the cash.
People got to have cash. There's different ways. There's different ways to get it done. Each deal is different. I have a lot of people ask me, what is it? What's the algorithm to get this done? And the answer is there's no algorithmic way to get any one single deal done. Each one is different, and there's nuance, and there's different things that the seller wants, and different ways to make your offer stand out over another one. And that's why it's important to have a seasoned real estate agent that knows the market, that knows how to make your offer stand out, that knows how to put you in the best position to potentially get that home. Now, listen, I don't get every home that my buyers make offers on. I don't get every single one. Sometimes I lose. I can't bet 1,000, but I do pretty good. I know a lot of the other realtors in the market. I like to keep the lines of communication open, and I try to pull what I can. Of course, we have to, when we're talking about, the other offers that we have a fiduciary responsibility to our sellers to not disclose information to the other realtors. So, you just have to do what you can to present your offer to help your buyers present an offer in a way that's going to put them in the best position to get the home. As you get above, 500,000 to $1 million, we're not seeing as much in the multiple offer arena. It's not quite as competitive. And then over a million, that million to 1.5 is still very it's still very busy. Homes are still selling at that price point, and they're selling quickly, especially if they're presented and priced well. But it's not quite as competitive.
I think that people in that, I've talked to, we don't do a ton of jumbo or anything like that. It kind of went away with COVID. So often we aren't talking to many of those buyers unless they got a ton of money to put down, right? But I do think that a lot of people in that arena are thinking, with the rate so low, it's a good time to make a move. I mean, it's a huge amount of money to finance, right? So, and they see numbers. They don't just look at it as a home. They make investments, right? So I think that is a good marker right now to kind of, all right, we can go from, our $1 million house to a 1.5 and our payment's the same.
Yeah, you can, which is really interesting. And get that one or two things that your home is lacking. You can get that now. So we are seeing people do that. So to answer your question, where are people going? It's a case by case basis. I have one friend, not a client of mine, sold their house. They're going to live in an RV.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yes,
cool.
I want to do that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I did a loan for someone. They were on the road for 2 years in an RV. Yeah. Then they moved to White Lake. He got a good job. They stayed there for like 3 years, right? He kind of chipped away everything that he could, and now they're going to do it again for another year and move somewhere else, another state, whatever, right?
But people are doing the bucket list things right now. I have a client that's moving to California. I have, I had a good friend that just got a job opportunity and moved to Atlanta. So some people are heading out of state. Some people are buying RVs. Some people are going to move to, Zion. They're going to move to, they're going to move to Utah and live up in the mountains. Who knows? So some people are doing things like that. We're seeing some bucket list things. Our families are getting into the school districts and getting into the houses that are going to work for them for the foreseeable future. So I think people are looking for something that they can be in a little bit more long term. We're seeing the amount of time that people stay in homes increasing. We've seen that over the past 10 years. People have, instead of staying in their homes 5 years, they're staying in their homes for like 7 years now. I think we're going to see that increase. I think people are really looking for something that they can, raise their kids in, grow their family, work from home, be in the area that they want to be in and be there for quite some time.
Well, I think when people are buying homes too, again, with the affordability, right? They're thinking like, a young couple without kids, they might be thinking, well, instead of doing that, 2-3 year plan where we have our little, bungalow, let's just do it now. The rates are cheap. It has a home office already, right? And, big finished basement or whatever it might be. And now would be a good time to do so, right? Well, you can hedge that money super cheap. But
yeah, you can buy something cheap, and then people are sitting on some equity right now too. So if you bought your home in 2015, guess what? It's worth more. I don't care where you are. It's worth more today than it was when you bought it. And if you want to know how much that is, give me a call. I'd love to tell you how much you can sell your home for. The other thing that I'm seeing right now too is people are making some small improvements to their home and getting it ready to sell that are really increasing their sales price. And I think there's a lot of opportunities out there for that right now. And that's one of the things that I do with my sellers is I go in, I meet with them, and we talk about some things that they can do to get their house ready, some investments that they can make into their home over the next 3-4 weeks to get the home ready and present it for sale and to sell it for more money. I say to people all the time, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 swings in real estate happen all the time. The question is what side of that swing do you want to be on? And I pride myself on that. I put most of my sellers and buyers on the positive side of that $10,000, $20,000 swing. Look, a $10,000 swing is $300 in commission for me, but it's $10,000 to my seller or buyer. And I get a real kick out of getting my people that $10,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's again to the beginning point, right? Like, it's how people walk away from the table, not necessarily how it all went. So it's funny when I see on Facebook or whatever, sold this home in 3 hours, we had 10 offers. It's like, sweet, good job, I guess. But what was
you worked really hard for that?
How did it go? Well, maybe they did. Maybe it is a great experience in which, they closed. They got them 10 grand over. They fought to keep the, pool table or whatever it is, right? And it went the extra mile for that client. But the beginning result in sold, right? That doesn't mean much. How did it close, right? How did everything go? Did you guys fold under the buyer's demands for, concessions or whatever it is, right? So I think that the experience to the end, and same thing with a loan, right? Sweet, we got you pre-approved. That's like me saying like pre-approved in 2 hours, right? Well, that's great. what happens in the end, right? Did that go well? Did they get communicated with? Did they know what's going on?
We should start doing that.
Yeah, pre-approved.
Totally start doing that.
Multiple documents submitted.
We don't always see. I think a lot of realtors and I think a lot of people purchasing, buying or selling a home, you see just the result. Hey, bought my first home today. Hey, our family moved into a new home today. You don't see all the work that went in before up to that point. I think a lot of realtors might say that too, but there is a lot of work. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that goes into pretty much every real estate transaction.
The realtor's not going to say like, show this pain in the ass 50 homes. Finally we got one under and a closed. That's great, right? But
I think I might say that actually. This pain in the ass looked at 60 homes, but
yeah, it's funny, man. But that's the name of the game. And I think as a realtor or loan officer or whoever it is, right, in a sales position, like you're like, people always call me, right, and they're like, oh man, I feel so bad like wasting your time or like talking to you, like I promise not to. I'm like, dude, that's what I do. If I close every single person I talk to, I mean, there'd be no reason.
You'd be stupid rich.
Yeah, there would be no reason to be a loan officer. That clearly that just wouldn't work, right? And same thing with an agent. If you every house that you showed for the person the first time, if they bought it and it closed without issue, I mean, we'd be talking about going to the store and just buying a Gatorade off the shelf. Like that's how easy it would be, but that's just not the case, right? So it's
not quite that easy.
Our time is averaged, if that makes sense, right? And once in a while you do get a $500,000 house, you showed them the first time, Zillow lead, whatever, boom, done, one and done, right? And that's great, but we earn our stripes in the hard ones, right?
It's a nice thing to hear sometimes, oh, hey, sorry to bother you. And I think sometimes clients feel like, oh, I'm dominating too much of their time and things like that. But it's just like you say, Sal, and it's one of the reasons why I like doing business with you is you pick up the phone and you will speak to clients. It's interesting because with each one of our clients, with whatever is happening for them, that's the most important thing for them right now. And, that's the way it is with real estate. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking about going into real estate, you need to know that something might come up at 9:30 on a Tuesday night. And that's the most important thing to them. And it's important to be responsive. It's important to be able to pick up the phone. It's going to happen on the weekends. It's going to happen at times which are inconvenient for you. But it's at that moment, it's pretty darn important to that client. And I think it's really, I think it's huge for us to be responsive during those times for our clients.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sacrifice, we sacrifice our time, obviously, to help people, and we do get rewarded for it. But at the same time, if we don't, I mean, you're as good as a bank, right? Yeah. Sorry, call at 9 a.m, boom, house is gone. So you got to do what you got to do. But
I just sit here. I'm right here in this seat for about 18 hours a day. I may or may not have pants on right now. I'm not going to confirm or deny that, but that is it. I'm just right here and picking up my phone whenever it rings. No, I have something outside of this.
I think a good thing to talk about is right now, what are you setting expectation-wise with your clients on time, right? Because sometimes without communication, I get a purchase agreement that's like 20 days, and I'm like, dude, like, what is this, right? Unless it's like spoken about, like, hey, we might need, a couple extra days, we'll target this date. But like, I think, Brad, you can allude to turn times right now. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on if it's a purchase refinance. So refinances are taking way longer than purchases at most places. Most places, purchases are being prioritized. Not everywhere. Some places are still, treating every file the same, first in, first out. But some places are prioritizing purchases because there's a contract there. But turn times are getting better. They were really bad for a while, but it's still, on a refinance, you submit it to underwriting, you're going to wait a week, maybe 2 weeks to get an approval, depending on the lender.
Which before
previously it used to be same day,
right?
or next day. Yeah, same day or next day it used to be. So we're talking a massive increase in just in that initial underwrite turn time. Like, what is that, 7 to 14 times longer than it used to be?
Yeah, and with that being said, if you don't have a clean file and maybe there's a question mark on the file or something you weren't anticipating, right? That throws things way into like panic mode, right? Like you're already halfway through the deal and this thing comes up that you have to get. And then not to mention the turn times for conditions, they used to be same day. Now they're 3 or 4. So all these things are in flux essentially during this deal, not to mention the appraisers are taking longer, right? I mean, they're out there going nuts with all these refis, I'm sure. And
title's taking longer. Everything's taking longer.
So, I think setting the right expectation from the start, like, hey man, we could close in 30 days still, but like, depending on the lender, obviously, this might be a little longer. Can you get 40 days? We'll try to close on 30, but if we can get 40, perfect, right? And again, it depends on the file, but ultimately, we're seeing, I think I'm hearing too on this side that, wow, we're getting, like half the deals or more are getting extended versus, before maybe it wasn't so bad. So I think it's just something everyone has to deal with and just realize that, like, again, underwriters are human. They can only do so much. They are used to having, 40, 50 files at a time, and they got 150 each, so they're either working way overtime or they're burnt out. Things are getting missed. It sucks, but
it's all about setting their expectations, like you said. I mean, if you can have an honest conversation, which hopefully you've had multiple honest conversations with your buyer or your borrower, and that's why they're doing business with you. And if you can set the right expectation and tell them, it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks before we get out of underwriting. In the meantime, we're still going to be working on your loan. I need you to do this. We're going to get your appraisal ordered. I need you to gather this stuff.
And just be honest. Have that conversation with the agents if they know it's going to get pushed, right? How shitty is it, Mark, when you're sitting there expecting to close Friday and you get a call Thursday, not close tomorrow?
Yeah, or Friday.
Right. Yeah. Hey, man, we're not even CTC'd yet. Like, that's crazy, right? I think it does. It does. I mean, I see it all the time. Loan officers, even, ones we work with who are a little more green, are afraid to push it. And it's like, dude, again, it's how people walk away.
Yeah.
You make that call.
It's important. We got to keep our composure.
Is the world going to end if we don't close Tuesday?
Exactly.
No. I mean, we would like to. Okay. Well, I'm telling you, if we do, it's going to be a complete nightmare. So can we close Friday? Yeah. Okay. Crisis averted. Instead of trying to close Tuesday and you get a CTC Tuesday morning and, it's nuts. So,
I mean, one thing I try to tell people, and it's huge. It's emotional. Like, my money's supposed to be in hand on Friday. It's not going to be there until Tuesday. I was supposed to get my house this weekend, and I'm not going to do it. I can't move until next week. And I might have had plans for that. It's unfortunate when that happens, and it's our job as real estate agents, as loan officers, to manage people through that crisis. But, in the big picture, the best thing about real estate is typically you get there, and money comes and goes, and the most important things are our families that we're putting between those doors and behind those walls. And
could you imagine the pressure of being a surgeon?
What's that?
Could you imagine the pressure of being like a surgeon? It's like, hey, it's going to be okay, right?
Yeah.
We're working through this, like you said. The money will come and go. It will close. It might not close Friday. It will close Tuesday. Try not to make super solid, crazy plans. Don't plan a vacation when you're selling or buying a home during that contract date, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And, just like I said, it's the most important people what's most important are the people that are walking through that door every single day. And we'll get there eventually. And unfortunately, hiccups happen, and it's our job to manage people through those difficult situations when it does.
Right. Like I said, if we wrote every deal or every deal closed without a hiccup, or, there'd be no point for us being here. Right.
Yeah.
We would be doing other jobs because it would be that easy, but it's not that easy. So people just have to realize that. And I think a lot of people think that it's probably harder than it really is too, right? People are always like, oh man, like, what do I need to do? I'm like, dude, you already did everything. You sent me your documents. It's just a waiting game now, really, right? Waiting for underwriters, waiting for appraisers, like you're good. And I think people are expecting like all of a sudden that call where, things fall apart or whatever. And again, it's our job to temper those expectations or emotions, but I think everything works out for the best. So I think, when searching for a realtor, right, or loan officer or whoever, like obviously, check their track record, but at the same time, find someone who you like get along with, right? Someone who you can like talk to. If you can't talk to them or like they're just really odd to you, which happens, right? Sometimes people are very odd. Maybe you don't want to work with that person because it needs to be an open line of communication.
I think one mistake a lot of buyers or sellers make is only talking to one real estate agent or talking to only one loan officers. I think you should talk to a couple. Like, I'm not for everybody. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'd like to sell every home in Metro Detroit. I don't though. And I don't expect that to happen. Some of the things that
I know I lose deals because I'm me.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And that's okay because I think you're wonderful, Sal.
Well, thank you.
All right.
I appreciate that, but some
but
people.
I want to reach to the screen and pinch your little cheeks right now because I like doing this. But yeah, it's I think it's a big mistake that a lot of people make is not talking to enough real estate agents and figuring out what their track record is, how long they've been in the business, how many homes they sell in your area. I see people all the time that have a listing agent or a buying agent that doesn't know the area, and that can be a real detriment. Sometimes they get lucky and they make it work. But a lot of times I see people that, leave money on the table for their clients. I think that's a huge mistake.
I think too, as an agent, you get to kind of choose or a loan officer, sometimes I got to tell people like, dude, you are like trying to wring that last drop of sweat out of this sock and you're not going to get it. Like, I will no longer work on your deal. Like this is just not going to work. Right. Like we can't do this. But sometimes people want to push, and it's kind of like
this
maybe
deal is a sweaty sock.
Yeah, and or pre-approval, right? I mean, I got someone right now where it's very difficult, and I'm hoping we can get it figured out. But can my this person co-sign? Can that person co-sign? Like, dude, maybe you shouldn't buy this house. Maybe you should take a step back and work on your own credit or whatever. But I'm sure you have people too sometimes. Like, dude, the house down the street just sold for $360. Like it's worth $320. You got to be honest with them because again, it's how they walk away. You might sell it and it might sell for $330, but if he was expecting $360, he's gonna be mad, even though it was worth $320. Right?
It's all about expectations. Like I said, I mean, if you can set the right expectations, you can't lose because they can't be mad at you, right? But if you overpromise and shit falls through the cracks, and they have every right to be pissed at you, right? So back to your point, Mark, is talk to a few different realtors and don't go with the guy or girl that tells you everything you want to hear, right? Ask some questions and see how they respond and see if you can get them to be honest with you and then work with the person that's going to be most honest with you. Don't just say, yeah, that one sold for $360. Oh, I get you $370. No problems at all. Don't go with that.
I want to go buy a used car and the dude's like, oh, it's perfect. Don't worry about the patches on the tires. It's like, okay.
I had a listing appointment one time, and I was talking about negotiating the deal, and I said I fancy myself a pretty good negotiator, and I want to work to get you the most amount of money possible for your home. And the guy, who's very detail oriented, he asked a lot of questions, looked me straight in the eye, and he goes, "What's the most important part of negotiating?" And I didn't have a good answer for that. And I botched it and I didn't get the listing. He was one of those people that, interviewed 2 or 3 different real estate agents, and he gave the deal to somebody else. And I applaud that seller. I applaud him very much so, because he went probably at that moment the better real estate agent. So good for him. And I think you need.
What the answer was for his answer?
I beg your pardon?
Did you figure out what he was looking for in that answer?
Not what I said. That's all I really know. Now, I know how to answer that question. I don't make the same mistake twice. That's for sure. That's something that I never do. And I know how to answer that question now as I get it. But I think as buyers or sellers, if you're not asking difficult questions to the person that's selling your most important asset, helping you purchase your most important asset, I think you're doing yourself a big disservice.
Huge.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to get sold by a salesman, right? And sometimes that happens. I walk into like a suit store and I'm walking out with like handkerchiefs and shit that I don't need. But
you don't need them.
No, I would never, ever wear one. So
yeah.
With that being said, it's easy to kind of get fed a line of BS from like an agent who's going to tell you whatever, right? But like, this isn't like, I don't look at loans as sales. I probably talk more people out of them than I do into them, especially refis. Not purchases, but refis. It's like, dude, you're going to move in 6 months. Why would you refi? Like, so those are like the things that I think you need to look for is just like, someone's going to give you an assessment. They're not necessarily going to sell you on working with them because that means they just want the commission. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. We are hitting our time block here, and time does fly by so fast when you're having a ton of fun with Brad and Shaftner, and we miss you, Paul. But I think we'll do the 3 questions, which are always fun and always different.
Oh,
do you have anything before that, Mark?
Yeah, let's do it. Buyers or sellers? It's a good time. It's a good time to buy or sell real estate. Period.
Do you have
that could have been
that could have summed it all up, right?
Yeah.
Brad, do you have one for Mark?
Yeah, we've done 3 questions with you several times now, so we're kind of running out of our normal questions. So my question is, what's your favorite NFL team and why?
Well, my favorite NFL team is the Detroit Lions.
Why is the bigger question then?
and I'll tell you why. Here's why. Because I think it's hard freaking work to be a Lions fan because you have to put up with so much shit. And I still love the Lions. Every single Sunday I watch, I put myself through it. Every off season, every preseason, which we don't have this year, I put myself through the pain of being a Detroit Lions. And it is a cross to bear and one that I bear proudly. Being a Packer fan is easy. Forget that.
Hey, come on.
No pain. You don't know pain up there.
How did you know that I'm a Packers fan?
I didn't know. I just figured.
No, I thought you did. I was like, damn, you're good.
No,
as Paul would say, because you look
I'm
like
just
Friars.
generally saying being a Packer fan, that's the easy.
No.
Oh, I'm a Patriots fan.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Well, I think everyone loves those first few games. Like the Lions come out and they got a ton of, moxie. And it's fun. It's fun to kind of like ride that train up, and then it's a roller coaster. It does go over the hill eventually and gives you that sick
crashes down.
Stomach, right? But
I'm calling it right now. They're going to have 9 wins and playing a wild card game.
I'm hopeful. I think it could be a great season, right?
Yeah.
This could be a good season for the Lions this year. Out of any of the years, this could be a good year for them, but they're still not going to beat the Packers.
Yeah. Oh, the Packers are done, dude. I'm sorry. Rodgers he's done. He
looks
really sleepy all the time, Aaron Rodgers.
I know. That's right.
His brain's always working overtime.
he's always thinking about how to make you smile on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So, Mark, if you could play one instrument,
not the skin flute.
No. Aside from like
the cowbell.
Yeah, if you could play one instrument and be really good at it, what would it be?
I think the piano is a really impressive instrument, and I wish I would have taken piano lessons because it's always intrigued me. I think it's a beautiful instrument. I love the way it sounds. I think it's amazing when somebody's up there just banging away on those keys. I think it's pretty great. I would love to be able to play the piano. Maybe I should take lessons. There we go.
You should.
Hey, quarantine got people doing crazy things, right?
Nothing
would be more
YouTube
awesome than
lessons.
be at a party and everyone's, having a few drinks and you just belt out something crazy on the piano.
Wouldn't that be dope? Yeah, I tried to play the guitar. I think it was mainly to meet girls in college. And but I couldn't figure out if I played right-handed or left-handed. I'm still really not 100% sure if I can.
Because you can't determine that. That's pretty cool if you can play both sides. So
well, I can't play, and the guitar is extremely. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to play the guitar, and then in 3 weeks I'm going to have a circle of people around me singing along. It's not that easy. I found.
No.
Well, I think that's a good question or a good answer. And I think we've gone over this one. Brad, you got any off the top of your head?
I can come up with something random. Chinese food or Italian food?
Chinese food.
Yes.
Yeah. Chinese food is just such a great indulgence. I'll take it anytime.
Young's Chinese on a Sunday.
Oh yeah, man. I order the menu. Just bring it all to me. Don't stop. Yeah. I want you to wheel me out of here in a wheelbarrow. Call me an Uber. Let them just push me out onto my front lawn.
Yeah, man. What's interesting right now too is, and it's funny. You and I live in the same neighborhood, so we probably eat at the same Chinese food place. But when you order it, it's crazy. There is, dude. It's like a 45-minute wait after your order's done just to pick it up. I mean, there is what I've noticed just in general with carryout. It's crazy.
What's interesting too, and maybe we can end on this. Some restaurants are thriving right now too. We've seen a lot of restaurants be decimated, but some that have opened and they've figured out how to do takeout and carry out and do it really, really well are cranking. And Young's Chicken is one of those. So maybe that's the model. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that this doesn't suck. It sucks, but some people
suck for them. I mean, they're cranking, and I think it's those who adapt win always, right? Or survive, I should say. Like whether it's real estate, this, that. I mean, you have to adapt. You have to do something, right? I mean, it's really impressive if you think about it. Everyone says, oh, the U.S. is, did such a bad job with, but it's like, dude, we have a lot going on. A lot of people who go to offices to work, and we're able in a matter of a month or two to switch everyone from home. These big companies doing, VPNs and all that, like it's a pretty massive undertaking. Restaurants having to switch everything. They've got these huge leases they got to pay for, and all they do is carry out. So it's interesting. It's good. And I think overall to recap things, Mark, like you said, just be honest. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with your clients. Be honest with the people you're dealing with, and things will work out for the better. I think the doom and gloom of coronavirus is something you have to put in the back of your head and just move forward every day. Otherwise, why wake up?
Yeah, I agree. Just good luck to everybody out there. If you're still with us, I hope everybody's healthy and safe, and we're getting through this. I think we need to clap for ourselves right now too. I think
do a true clap.
Each individual, you're doing great. You're schooling your kids from home. You're working from home. You've adjusted. Pat yourself on the back. It's not all doom and gloom. We're out there.
If someone wants to call you, Mark, what's your phone number?
Phone number is 248-396-1741. Website is markshaftner.com. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook. Just at Mark Shaftner on Instagram, Mark Shaftner dash real estate on Facebook. Try to do my best to be real responsive, and call me. Love to talk real estate. Figure out if you need to buy or sell a home. I'm your man.
Thanks for making my my debut as host.
You did a hell of a job, Sal.
And thank you, Brad, for being a good co-host. We'll catch everyone later. Everyone have a great day, and find us on Spotify, podcast, all that stuff. We'll see you later.
See ya.
Bye.